So today we'll film a really important video. So this will be a compilation. In the first part of this video, you learned how to summon Lilith according to full evocation course. In the second part of this video, I will teach you how to prepare for a curse. Because a lot of people ask me about curses. And I will teach you here in a short video how to prepare for a curse. So here in this clip you already learned how to raise a sacred space. Now for this preparation you have to raise the space once again, and you have to technically go into deep meditative state after you raise a space. Then you need to repeat the chant Lilith Amata Karvanain. Lilith Amata Karvanain. After you finish repeating for some time in the sacred space, the energy flood will come. And then you will address her with the following words. By the power of the left side of God, Lilith, the Empress of the night side, bloodshed and dark mysteries, I call you upon to aid me in this curse and attune my energy bodies to what I am going to do. Then you will summon a spirit with Lilith's permission, who is bound to your target. You need to bind spirits to Lilith first, and it is done in the following procedure. You need to bind spirits to your target, the spirits of Lilith, and I will shortly explain here how it is done. You raise the sacred space, and in that sacred space you need to have with you a doll. On that doll you need to have name, date of birth, and the picture of your target. Then, when the Lilith is summoned, with the chant I already gave you, Lilith Amata Karvanain, after you prepared for the curse, then you will take a few needles, impale the doll with the name of your enemy, and you will tell Lilith to bind her spirit to the person to devour him slowly. It is really simple, however it is really effective. You will also ask Lilith to give you a sigil of the spirit bound to the person and his name, a name of the spirit, so you can indeed summon him. If you are able to raise a sacred space, you will be able to receive a sigil and the name and feel the spirit who you are binding and who it is binding. So let me state once again what you need to do. So first, preparation for the curse. You raise the space. You summon Lilith with a chant Lilith Amata Karvanain. When the Lilith comes, you tell her this. By the power of the left side of God, I call you, Lilith, to prepare me for the act of baneful operation I am going to cast. You do this ritual in this manner. Lilith will come and she will empower you in a way she sees fit. You will do this as many times as you feel it is necessary. Do this ritual every night until you internally in your soul feel that it is enough. There is no way anyone can predict how many times you need to do this. The goal of this is to prepare you for the influx of negative energy the curse will entail. After you empowered yourself sufficiently with Lilith through repetition of the chant and raising of the space. Then you can cast the curse in the manner I described previously. Raise the space again, call Lilith again. Have the doll with a picture and the name of the native verb of your target. Then, in the presence of Lilith, impale the picture upon the doll with the needles of iron. Then repeat the chant again and tell Lilith this: by the power of the left side of God, I call you, Lilith, to bind your sons and daughters to my enemy, and give me their seals and names, so I can feed alongside them with the blood of my enemy. Then Lilith will send to you in a circle the spirits. You will be able to feel them, and they will become attached to your enemy. You will receive their seals and names, and you will be able to summon them and drink the blood essence, the life force of your enemy, together with them. It is done in a really simple manner. You raise the sacred space. You draw the sigil of the spirit you received. You repeat his name, and the spirit will come in a sacred space. Then you will tell the bound spirit to give you life force of an enemy you bound him to. So let me explain. First, you summon Lilith for a certain number of times with the chant to prepare with the curse for the curse. Then you raise the sacred space and summon Lilith again with the doll picture of your enemy and the needles. You put the picture upon the doll, impale it with the needles, and you tell Lilith to bind her sons and daughters to your enemy. She will do so. You will feel it. Then you ask her to give you sigils of the spirit, and she will do so. She will give you the sigils of the spirit. Sometimes you will need to summon her with the chant multiple times to receive the sigils. After you receive the sigils and the names of the spirits bound to your enemy, you simply raise the sacred space. In the future, when you want to do this, you summon the spirits by their names by simply vibrating the name in the sacred space while looking in the sigil, and then technically what you wanna will be done over time. The rest of this video will technically be my old evocation of Lilith, which you can do to prepare for this entire process before you even start thinking about cursing.
Hello, in this video I will going to give full comprehensive guide on how one should summon Lilith and how one should conduct in case he is a beginner and he wants to summon the Lady of the Night and the Mother of the Nightly Creatures and the Mother of Demons. Everything will be explained in detail, and this video will also contain 2 other videos of mine. This will be, or 3, this will be full compilation of all information beginners should know about Lilith. And you probably won't find, for now, more elaborate and comprehensive guide for evoking of this spirit for beginners. So let's start. There are 3 steps of every successful evocation. One is raising and the preparation of the sacred space. Another is conjuring of the spirit. And third is dismissal of the spirit. All of the 3 steps will be covered in this video. So let's first start with raising of the sacred space. This raising of the sacred space will raise the energy of Lilith to protect your sacred space during your operation. If you raise the sacred space as instructed within this video, you will also make area around you more comfortable for Lilith and her creatures to manifest, which will greatly increase your ability to communicate and work with them. I said this many times in many of my videos, but if you don't have astral senses decently developed, what you should do is you should really practice evocation without expecting phenomenal experiences from your evocation, because in the same way deaf person cannot have a phenomenal experience with music of Mozart, person without any astral senses cannot have a phenomenal experience with spirits, because you do not have ability to receive information from those worlds and realms, and it is not the fault of this ritual, really. You need to work on your senses and on your chakras and practice spirit evocation regularly in order to develop and hone your skills to feel the spirits. The more you do it, the better results will be. This video will also include astral senses development exercise with Lilith. And let us focus again on the topic of this part of the video, which is raising of the sacred space. All of the information and all of the chants vibrated in this video you will also see spelled in the description of the video, so you have everything in one place. If you don't know how some things are spelled and you cannot watch video over and over again, just watch the description of the video, and within the description you will have all of the chants spelled. So, how to raise the space? It is really simple. Repeat the following. Lilith, I call you now in your most benevolent form as the mother of idolaters to raise the sacred space for this powerful rite. You should repeat this conjuration over and over again. While you repeat the conjuration, visualize the wall of white wind rising around your sacred space. Visualize and repeat the conjuration over and over again until you can feel the winds which rose in your space, as well as energy pulsating in some way, some kind of a pressure. Now, if you really don't have any astral senses at all, I think 300 repetition of this hymn will be enough to raise the space. But if you have senses developed in any way, then as soon as you feel that protective energy rising, that wind rising, that pressure rising around the edges of your space, then stop repeating. And maybe repeat a few more times just to fortify it even more, and then proceed to summon the spirit. Once you successfully raise the sacred space, it is time to proceed with evocation itself. Evocation, just like raising of the sacred space, is indeed designed for beginners, and it is designed to be extremely simple and do not require any additional tools. But before you engage in evocation itself, it is my duty to introduce you to the aspect of Lilith you should conjure in this video, which is best aspect for beginners. Now we need to talk a little bit about Lilith as the mother of idolaters. It is the aspect of Lilith which is good for teaching and guiding the beginners. This aspect of Lilith is good in teaching of sorcery, consecrations of idols, initiating into dark forms of paganism, initiating into her specific aspect, correlating to the desert of Ashar, which is her astral realm. This form of Lilith is also really fundamental in guiding you how to tap into your own personal power. But this aspect of Lilith, of her as a mother of idolaters, isn't really sexual and isn't really predatory. If you want some kind of succubus working or sex magic working, this is not the aspect you should call. But as a beginner, it is my honest opinion that you shouldn't engage in any form of sex magic with her, and you shouldn't engage in any form of sexual sorcery with her, any form of work with succubi or incubi, because this form of work is extremely dangerous and extremely draining. Not because Lilith is malevolent, but because daggers are dangerous no matter how you use them. In the same way, daggers are dangerous, powerful forms of sorcery are dangerous in the same way, no matter how you use them. So, Lilith as the mother of idolaters can also attune your aura for beginner workings and guide you slowly towards more advanced stuff. She is really one aspect of her which is good at giving birth to an actual magician. This form of Lilith is also the most compatible form of Lilith if you want to work with her alongside with other spiritual systems which are not so compatible with the qliphothic energy. If you, for example, want to include Lilith in your Celtic paganism working, or Slavic paganism working, or Germanic paganism working, or any other working for that matter, this is ideal aspect of Lilith to conjure. Deeper mysteries of Lilith, if you really want to go deeply into her mysteries, demand your full attention, and many other paths and currents are not compatible with her deeper mysteries and aspects. That's why I chose this aspect for this video, because it is most compatible with the larger amount of paths we have today. Now, when we clarify what aspect of Lilith should be called and what that aspect can do, I need to clarify once again. It can teach astrology, sorcery, consecration of idols, initiate in large amount of pagan path workings, and many other paths. It can help you reach other spirits, help you develop astral senses, help you fortify your energy body, help you a little bit with your low life. However, there are other aspects of Lilith which are better for long life, but this one is also good, and it can kind of help you in initial stages of gnosis and self-knowledge. But this aspect of Lilith, as far as I know, is not as deep and dark as many other aspects. This is really an aspect beginners should approach, and the more advanced forms of these aspects are kinda approachable through other forms of her more. So this is really kinda an interface aspect to initiate the sorcerers into her path and many other paths. And this aspect of her can also teach you astrology, according to Lilith herself. So after you rouse the sacred space and fortified everything really well, it is good for you to proceed with evocation. But I need to remind my audience once again, before you proceed evocation, you should really meditate and calm your mind to make operation more effective, and to avoid false gnosis, because if you don't silence your mind, there is a big chance that you will talk to yourself and not with the spirit. So you need to silence your mind to make sure everything will go smoothly and you receive the actual information. Lilith Kalanai, 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 Lilith Kalanai. Ada Lilith Vai, Ada Lilith Vai, Ada Lilith Vai. I call you Lilith in your most benevolent form, as the mother of idolaters. Lilith Devaneati, 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 Lilith Devaneati. Lilidhamabana kumim, 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 Lilidhamabana kumim. Repeat this conjuration of Lilith over and over again until her energy arrives. Now, after we discussed how you should summon her, then we should discuss your conduct. To make things short, your conduct should be respectful. And first time you summon her, you should just tell her to empower you as she wishes. And get her to know you. You shouldn't ask her for anything unless the situation is urgent. Because the best way to fuck a relationship with the spirit is to start asking them for shit immediately, especially for the shit they don't like. They won't respect you a lot if you immediately start asking for shit and you are not capable of commanding them or binding them in a way. Lilith shouldn't be bound, but if you don't conduct yourself respectfully and immediately start asking for shit, you will become annoying pretty well and pretty quickly, and it is a good way to fuck up. It is a good way to make yourself a magical failure. So first few occasions, just ask her to empower you as she wishes, and then after she knows you and you know her, ask for things. If you, for example, are under threat of attack or in deadly danger, or your kids are endangered, or you are really in a bad position, then Lilith is spirit who will help you quickly. So in that case, if you really don't know who to summon and what to do and you are in desperate situation, you can call Lilith with this conjuration, use this procedure, and ask her for the shit immediately to happen, and it will. She will really respond quickly. But if you wanna fuck some pussy, my advice is, or if you wanna seduce somebody, because that's the number one reason why Lilith is called, due to her reputation. No matter are you male or female, you should really call her a few times to empower you, and then ask her for earthly benefits, because then she will respect you much, much more, and that will really build your discipline. Because if you call her for a few times and ask her to empower you, first it will build trust, second it will build you discipline, and the third it will build you enough power and energy to withstand and deal with the manifestation of your earthly desire. After you gave your request to Lilith, you can proceed with the last dealings, clearing stuff up and giving her the license to depart. Now, I will discuss a little bit in this video how you should give her your request. First, you should be respectful. Second, you should know what you are doing and what you want. Third, you should tell what you want in a commanding voice and decent manner. Thing number 4. After you issue the command, you should visualize the end result and transmute the energy of that visualized end result to Lilith until you cannot focus on end result anymore. And last but not the least, you shouldn't command Lilith, because that's recipe for failure. She cannot stand being commanded. After you gave her your requests and after you really said to her what you want and cleared everything, you should recite the conjuration for dismissal and give her the license to depart. Now we'll talk about importance of license to depart, why it is fundamental, and why you should really have one license to depart handle in your every magical operation. And I will also give you license to depart, which is really good for Lilith and her Lilith. Now let's explain first what is the license to depart. The license to depart is conjuration or incantation or banishing you use to thank the spirit because he arrived and to remove all of his energy from your space. Now let's explain when you should use the license to depart and when you shouldn't use license to depart. You should use license to depart if you introduced yourself to the spirit and you kind of just started working with him, and once you kind of work with spirit just for obtainment of some earthly desire without any deep spiritual intention, then you should use license to depart. You should also use license to depart if you work with some really heavy energies and you don't want to go into really deep working, because then if you don't use license to depart, well, even if spirit leaves, residual energy will remain, and that will kind of fuck you up and fuck you over if energy is heavy. So let's explain right now why you should, as a beginner, use license to depart in a case of Lilith. There are 3 main reasons. The fact that you are a beginner and you cannot handle the spiritual energies in general, that Lilith's energy in general is really heavy and can cause extreme side effects if somebody cannot handle it, and the last part why you should use license to depart is that Lilith herself are always accompanying Lilith, and they can be really messy and fuck with you a little bit if you are a beginner and you don't know what you are doing. Not because they are malevolent, but because Lilith wanna play, and some of them are just created, so they don't have a lot of experience, so sometimes they will unintentionally do some nasty things to humans because they kinda don't know how us humans work. They completely live in their own different dimension and they are not accustomed to our human world. So I will right now recite the conjuration and the license to depart for Lilith herself. Lilith tutueneta hashtave Lilithatasi atavisu Lilithase Lilith metuenitu Lilith tutueneta hashtave Lilithase Lilith metuenitu atavisu Lilithase. Lilith, with those words, I close this rite. Let the tempest cease. Leave. Remove all of your winds, all of your sons and daughters from my sacred grounds, and devour those who refuse to leave, and you will be summoned again. Let mashtantene cheta Lilithati atavisu Lilithatasi. So, you should repeat this over and over again until you feel that Lilith left. So this is last step of this beginner guide for summoning Lilith. This video will also include 3 other videos from my channel. It will be almost 2 hours long, and this will be together with those 3 videos, complete guide for summoning Lilith for you. This license to depart piece of evocation is equally as important, just like raising of the sacred space and summoning. As a beginner, you need to know how to remove them from yourself. If they don't want to leave after first few repetitions of this, repeat this over and over again until all energies of Lilith, all spirits accompanying Lilith and Lilith herself leave. Sometimes it will take a little bit of time, a little bit of repetition, but they will leave more or less without any disturbance because of this. This is channeled specifically to help you all beginners remove the energies of Lilith after your rites, and I tested this and Lilith confirmed me this is effective. If you don't banish Lilith effectively, some of those few things can happen. They can cause poltergeist activity, they can make you a little bit ill, or give you a few crazy visions. And that's not what you as a beginner desire. Working with Lilith is extremely beneficial, but it also has some risks. You will be informed about them in later part of this guide. Thank you for your attention, and let's go to the next lesson.
And I need to add something for you all to know. You see, a lot of people are asking me, how can I get into any form of occultism, sorcery, spirituality, serious mysticism? And my answer to this is like, it's easy to get in. But once you get in seriously, you cannot get out. So before you start any fucking thing, be mindful of this, okay? Like, you cannot go into serious Lilith pathworking, angelic pathworking, Drinic pathworking, shadow people pathworking, necromancy, any form of spirituality, Hindu gods pathworking. You cannot go into it really deeply and then just back off, and then just fuck off. You will destroy yourself and your entire motherfucking environment. So, don't ask yourself, how can I start with this? Ask yourself, can I commit to this? And am I serious about this? Okay, dabbling is nice and fine. You can use those rituals to dabble. But once you cross a certain boundary, my dear friend, you cannot get out. Thanks for watching this part of the tutorial. Let's go to the next one. Today I will present to you a short and effective method of cleaning energy centers. So first, call Lilith using magical chant. Halilitama Hashedim, Halilitama Hashedim, Halilitama Hashedim. Once she arrives, then do the following to clean your own energy centers. Just put your finger in front of the energy center you want to clean, and then use that finger and visualize little tentacle coming from your finger into the energy center you want to clean. After you focus enough, you will actually create that tentacle on the spiritual planes. After you created tentacle, command yourself to clean all of the impurities from the energy center. Hold that finger and tentacle in front of the energy center for 35 or 36 seconds. After you did so, just use your willpower and put tentacle out of your energy center, and the cleaning of energy center is finished. Way to really easy do so is to call Lilith and learn psychic vampirism. This way you can create tentacle really easy after you learn vampirism, and also you will be able to really quickly create those tentacles, because vampirism really increases your ability to manipulate your energy. Since you present the energy of Lilith for this exercise, after you ended cleaning all of the energy centers with already suggested method, call Lilith to fortify your energy bodies and empower you. And then the ritual of cleaning of your energy centers will be completed. And this method not only cleans your energy centers, but also empowers you, fortifies your astral body, and decreases the chances of you being attacked by vampiric entities. Peace out. I think this was enough for today.
Today I'm gonna give you easy way to purify your soul. Just call Lilith with mantra Ha Lilithama Ha Shedim until you feel her presence. Then put your hands near your ears and visualize tentacles coming from your fingers and reaching deep into your aura. Then command yourself to clean your aura through those tentacles and put the dirty energy into the fingers. Do it until Lilith says it is enough. Then, after you finished cleaning, command yourself to cut tentacles and clean the aura from the process of removal of dirty energy. After you do so, command Lilith to clean your entire energy body. Offer her some blood upon the sigil and burn it down. With this act, your cleaning of the aura with the help of Lilith is complete. Thanks for watching.
So a lot of people are messaging me how they can start working with Lilith, and here is method how. So I channeled magical chant, which does two things. First thing this magical chant does is it calls the most benevolent and approachable for beginners aspect of Lilith. The magical chant for calling this aspect of Lilith is Lilithama teiteate, Lilithama teiteate, Lilithama teiteate. This magical chant also raises the sacred space. So my advice is first repeat this chant first a few times until you raise the sacred space, and then after you did so, use also this chant to call it upon. Now, how you can use this chant to raise the sacred space? It is really simple. Repeat the magical chant and focus on your intention to raise a barrier around your ritual space. If you can, visualize the white wind of energy blowing around your ritual space and protecting the area. If you cannot visualize, just focus on your intention and on feeling of protection. Once you are able to feel the protective wall around your space, then you should recite the chant with an intention of summoning Lilith upon. Now, what are the signs of Lilith appearing? It is really simple. It can vary, but for those who don't have astral senses developed, it's usually a pressure in the head, a weird presence in the room, oscillations of heat and cold in the body, sudden arousal in genital area. Sometimes it can be even as a sudden emotional outburst. It can be few knocks. For beginners, it's mostly a pressure in the room and pressure in the forehead. Now, when some of those signs appear and when you feel the presence of the spirit in the sacred space, then my first advice is for beginners who are reaching out to Lilith to introduce themselves to the spirit. Tell who you are, tell why you summoned, etc. My advice here is don't request anything from her materially for first few summonings. Use first few summonings to kind of introduce yourself to her and empower yourself. Request from her to open up your psychic abilities for first few summonings. This will enable you to more effectively communicate with the lady, as well as empower yourself in multiple different ways and manners, which are unique to her. My advice is also to not request first few summonings, anything related to your love interest or some sexual or erotic gain. If you wanna really build strong relationship with Lilith, and if you really wanna work with her for a long time and work with her as your guide, don't request from her anything for first 5 to 7 summonings. The only thing you should request is some kind of spiritual empowerment, or just introduce yourself to entity and tell her to empower you however she wishes. Because that's really fundamental foundation. If she sees that you are really involved in work with her beyond sexual gratification or money, she will show you the aspects of herself which are necessary for your evolution, and she will observe you as a potential ally and not as a food. Because if you really go pretty hard on her with material requests for first few times, in some cases she becomes really pissed and partially predatory. So I won't say that she will kill people who piss her off. That happens, but rarely. But she usually gets irritated and starts like giving them unpleasant dreams and shit, with clear, a little bit malevolent intent. So you kind of need to be respectful for future summonings. But she is definitely having a soft spot towards like single mothers or handicapped people and things like that. She's kind of protector of those marginalized groups, in my experience. However, in a case of mothers or a woman, she will usually take more masculine approach and kind of try to harden them and to work with them to forge them into stronger individuals, and that's sometimes painful. Now, another prerequisite for working with Lilith is to not give her blood or seed too early, until you kind of summon her, or menstrual blood too early, until you kind of summon her for a few times, really. And you kind of work with energy a bit, give her like blood and sexual fluids and shit like that, or food offerings, or flowers, or wine, shit like that, after fuse first summonings. For fuse first summonings, my advice is don't give her anything, just ask her to empower your ability to perceive her and to kinda introduce yourself to her. Giving her a bunch of shit immediately is not recommended, because whenever you are giving her shit, you are partially tapping into vampiric form of her, and vampiric form of her can be dangerous. This magical chant, which I recited in the beginning, specifically calls motherly aspect of Lilith, and motherly aspect of Lilith is known for giving energy. So for first few times, you call her up to receive energy from her. You call her up to introduce yourself, and in return for your introduction and dedication to her in those rituals, she will give you energy in her motherly form, which is summoned through the chant. And after you build up your relationship with that motherly form, then start working with her more deeply after those first 7 to 10 rituals. 7 to 10 rituals with her, done in the manner I provided here, should open you a little bit more to her influence, which will then make you more capable and able to presence her energy and to feel her power. My advice in regard to offerings are white roses, white candles, red roses, meat, honey, sandalwood, all kinds of blood and sexual fluids. And another offering she kind of accepts really dearly is jewelry or silver coins. You can also dedicate metal coins if you don't have silver ones. Her favorite days of the week are Monday and Saturday. Her favorite days of the moon, her favorite days of the moon are technically the black moon or the new moon, as it is called, and she is more approachable for summoning in her destructive aspect during the waning phases of the moon, while in her more creative aspects she is more approachable during waxing phases of the moon. The full moon is the best if you want to summon her in her form of wisdom bringer and mother, while the black moon is the most effective when you want to summon her in her form of seductress or vampire queen. Now, there are some interesting side effects for work with Lilith. One side effect I noticed with everybody is increase in sex drive. Another side effect I notice is increase in dreams. Your dreams will become more vivid. But in a case of you having some kind of unresolved issue, mentally you will usually have nightmares. So after you have nightmares, when you start to work with Lilith, that's nothing bad. How do you know Lilith is attacking you and it's actually a painful nightmare? So if you kinda started working with Lilith and you fucked something up and you have a nightmare, but after that nightmare you wake up and then you kind of feel pressure on your chest and you can see a female figure on your chest or the shadow of that female figure or shit like that, you probably fucked something up. But this kind of fuckery happens pretty rarely, and I throw it really just as a warning for people who fuck up. But if you respect what I said in this video, and if you really do as instructed, there are really small chances of you fucking up. It is my personal opinion that altar to Lilith shouldn't be erected in the beginning of your practice. Dedicating altar to Lilith should be done after months or years of study under the Empress of the Night and the Queen of Demons and the first wife of Adam, because her energies can be really heavy for your apartment and the place you live. And if you open a permanent gateway, it can create some fuckery. So don't open and dedicate the portal to her and altar to her unless you really know what kind of energies are you wielding. There is also one really important warning for witches, and that's the fact that Lilith will not harm your children. If you are witch and if you work with Lilith, she won't harm your children if they are born children. However, pregnant women should call Lilith up only if they have decent experience in working with her, because energies generated by Lilith can influence fetus in a negative way. Not because Lilith is malevolent, but because her energies are not compatible with energy radiation of many fetuses. And even if Lilith doesn't have malevolent intention towards them, sometimes intensity of Lilith presence can do some shit to pregnancy. So it usually doesn't end in miscarriage, as far as I know, but it can create some complications. So it is recommended for pregnant women without experience with Lilith to either call somebody up who is experienced in work with Lilith to ask her should she work during pregnancy, or don't work with her during pregnancy at all. But if witch worked with Lilith earlier and had strong developed relationship with Lilith, then work with Lilith is actually recommended during pregnancy, because if Lilith favors the female, she can use all of her power to literally guarantee safe pregnancy more than any other spirit I know of. She is really capable of protecting the pregnant woman she cares about. Now, as far as males are concerned, many males become dick obsessed and sex obsessed while working with Lilith. This can result in extremely negative consequence for the male initiate. He will really give too much sexual offerings to Lilith and one of her succubi, and what will happen is health of the initiate will deteriorate, and his spiritual faculties will deteriorate. Lilith will usually warn initiates and her male students to not express their sexual energy too much, and also to not repress themselves too much. But she definitely won't hold your hand outside of your pants. She is not that kind of entity, so if you offer her sexual energy, she will accept. But in case of many people, she actually warned them to not behave with their sexuality in not beneficial ways, but many people actually they don't listen to any kind of a warning given to them from spirits or people. So really, we shouldn't blame Lilith for idiocy of her people who are trying to reach out, especially many males. Also, over-sexualization of Lilith can severely damage one's ability to actually work with the entity. Sex is an important part of working with Lilith, but defining Lilith through sex is like defining a book of poetry through few verses, and she is much more than astral sexual object. She is something much more transcendental, much more powerful. There is also another warning I want to give, and that's the fact that Lilith tends to, in my experience, from other females, which doesn't have to be the case in every female witch who tries to summon her. Extremely intense sessions of summoning Lilith can create painful menstrual cycles, but she is definitely also capable of relieving the pain of the menstrual cycle. So that's also something you should know. And work with Lilith will kinda attract weird people in your life. Not necessarily dangerous, but weird. People who deviate from the societal norms in one way or the other. And it is my personal opinion that Lilith is not affiliated or associated with many male entity. A lot of people try to pair her with Samael or with Lucifer or with Satan. In my opinion, she has a relationship with many male entities, but she is not subservient to any of them, and she definitely doesn't accept orders. And yeah, do not command Lilith if you wanna have a beneficial life in general. Commanding Lilith without respect can create absolute chaos, which I do not recommend. If you use candles in your work with Lilith, as I recommended previously, the best candles to use are black, red, and white. In my experience, white gives the best results, but some other people will disagree. If you want to really empower the candle deeply, you should call Lilith upon, then carve her name in a candle in Hebrew, and then ask Lilith to consecrate the candle. So that's how I use candles in work with Lilith. If female wants to give really powerful offering to Lilith, really, she should offer to Lilith her menstrual blood, because that's the most powerful offering female can give. There is one procedure for offering menstrual blood, honestly, and that's, if you are a male, what you should do is you should put the menstrual blood of certain female individual on your hands, and then call it upon, and literally raise your hands to the sky and wait as Lilith drains the energy from your hands, from the menstrual blood on your hands, into herself. Another way for the females to do is a little bit different. So for the females, you should carve her name on the edges of the plate, and then you should, at the bottom of the plate, draw her sigil, and then you should call Lilith to consecrate the plate when you summon her up. And then after you consecrated the plate, during your next menstrual cycle, put whatever comes out at the plate, and then call it upon, and then offer the menstrual blood from the consecrated plate. So those are the instructions. I think that this kind of shit shouldn't be done by beginners. This is a little bit advanced, but a lot of people constantly message me about offerings and shit like that, so I think I needed to share this with the common occult broad public. So yeah, there are also two other magical chants I want to share with you in this video. All the three magical chants recommended in this video will be in the description of the video. So, second magical chant I want to share with you in this video is Agrat Beretia Lilith. In this chant, and with this chant, you summon Agrat Bat Malat with the help of Lilith. Agrat Batmalat is really good for beginners, and she is good for healing, initiation, imparting of visions, and general nurturing of new people in black magic. Another chant I want to share with you all is Lilith, Karina, Enaitu. Lilith, Karina, Enaitu. Lilith, Karina, Enaitu. So this chant is a little bit different. In this chant, you, with the help of Lilith, summon Karin of whatever person you want to summon. Shortly, what Karin is jinn who is born with the person and who follows the person for entire life. So this magical chant can allow you to call Karin of whatever person you want. In order to obtain information about that person, you can call Karins of dead and alive people. With this magical chant, just add the name of the person you want to summon Karin of with this chant at the end of the chant. All of the 3 chants will be in the description of the video, and thank you for watching and your time. So today we will talk about really short vampiric ritual with Lilith. So you have the following steps. First, raise the sacred space, either with Lilith hymn for raising of the sacred space provided on Lilith playlist, or with Samael hymn for raising of the sacred space provided on Samael playlist. Read the hymn or the hymns, because you can use one of them or both of them, until you feel peace and feeling of protection. After you feel peace and feeling of protection, you can continue working on this ritual, and the procedure is following. Visualize the tentacles coming from your aura into the enemy you want to vampirize. Those tentacles are transcendental. They transcend time and space and attach directly to your enemy you want to vampirize. And then vibrate the following hymn to Lilith over and over again, while visualizing energy coming from your enemy into you. If you cannot visualize, just focus on your hatred for the enemy, intention to vampirize the enemy, and read the hymn over and over again. This is really effective method, tested many times by me. This hymn is also good if you want to confirm your pact with Lilith, or in general build up relationship with the Lady of the Night. So, the hymn will be in this video next after I stop speaking. Enjoy it and use it well according to the instructions provided. Lilith Karvanairu, Lilith Karvana Keteran, Atavishta Lilithase, Atavishu Lilithashtuni, Maritava Lilithoretasu, Maniate Lilithvara, Hishnua Lilithmanie. Lilith Karvanairu, Lilith Karvana Keteran, Atavishta Lilithase, Atavishu Lilithashtuni, Maritava Lilithoretasu, Maniate Lilithvara, Hishnua Lilithmanie. After you finish reciting the hymn as instructed, then ask Lilith to literally infuse the energy vampirized into your aura without negative consequences. And I also need to add another short note. When you call Lilith with magical chants provided previously on this channel, call her with magical chants provided previously on the channel, in different videos presented on Lilith playlist until you feel her energy really intensely in order to facilitate and ensure the good result of this ritual. Ritual of vampirism should be performed ideally twice a week and not more than that. Ideally it should be performed on the Monday or Saturday night, in the night hour of the moon or night hour of the Saturn. You can also use day hour of the moon or day hour of the Saturn, but it will be less effective during day hours than during night hours. Also, I will provide you, since this needs to be a comprehensive video, with magical chant for calling Lilith. You can use to call Lilith at the beginning of this ritual to present her energy. And the chant is Ha Lilithama Karvana, Ha Lilithama Karvana, Ha Lilithama Karvana. Thanks for your time, ladies and men. Hello, today we will talk about Lilith and her realm. Now, Lilith is attributed to two realms within a tree of death. Now, let's explain what the tree of death is, and I will kinda give you my understanding of what it is. Now, according to my personal knowledge, to be honest, is a little bit different from traditional Kabbalistic understanding, and since I was never exposed directly to traditional Kabbalistic understanding by some rabbi, the only thing I can give you is my personal experience and my personal conclusions I came to while practicing. So let's start. According to my personal knowledge, demons, what we know as demons, or the spirits which reside within tree of death, spirits known in Hebrew lore as Shadim. Okay, those spirits, according to my understanding, do not inhabit, especially in first four qliphothic worlds. Those first four worlds, you have 10 of them, or 11, depending how you count. First four qliphothic worlds, Nahimot, Gamaliel, Samael, and Arag Zarak, those first four worlds, are actually deeply connected to our physical world. According to my knowledge and experience, demons, especially if we talk about demons which reside within first four worlds of the tree of death, Nahimot, Gamaliel, Samael, and Arab Zarak, aren't located in some transcendental realm beyond our understanding. Those first four qliphothic worlds of the tree of death are actually deeply connected and intertwined with the mundane world we are inhabiting. According to my understanding, there are spiritual gateways and portals within surface of the physical earth we inhabit. And many of those spiritual gateways and portals are either directly part of the earth we inhabit or are closely connected to it. According to my personal knowledge, the first four realms of the Tree of Death, which are the demonic worlds, are actually connected with our own realm, especially first world, which is Nahimot, or Black Earth. This world is actually running through our mundane reality, and many spirits which reside within Nahimot or Black Earth are actually part of our mundane lives. Many entities which we know as shadow people in modern times are actually spirits of the Nephilim, which are coming directly from Nahimot, or at least originate from there. Those spirits are actually earthbound, and in many cases they literally live on the same earth and ground as we do. They are just experiencing the world we inhabit from different perspective and vibrational frequency. So today we will talk about the second of those four cliphotic worlds, which are extremely close to our own, and that second world is the one closely attributed to Lilith. That world is Gamaliel. Okay? So, according to traditional Kabbalistic dichotomy and nomenclature and naming, Gamaliel means obscene ones, and Gamaliel is associated with the moon. So, let me give you my own understanding of Gamaliel. When they say that Gamaliel is associated with the moon, or represents the sphere of the moon, what I experienced is that that sphere is connected to the phases of the moon. And certain aspects of that sphere can be, that infernal world can be more effectively accessed during the certain phases of the moon. For example, if I want to reach the more benevolent sexual sides of Gamaliel, I should try to access it while the moon is full. But if I want to access the more baneful and aggressive sides of Gamaliel, I should try to access it while the moon is dark. So, let's talk about where this sphere is actually located. So, you already know that Gamaliel corresponds to the astral realm, to the astral plane. Okay, the first sphere, Nahimot, is more physical. It's actually intertwined with our own physical earth 100%. And it is really easy to call the spirits from the first infernal world, which is known as Nahimot or Black Earth, because they are really close to us. They literally inhabit the same world as us. As Gamaliel is concerned, which is the second sphere, ruled by Lilith, this sphere stands for dreams, prophecy, astral magic, empowerment, sexual sorcery, psychic abilities, and spiritual ascension. Okay. This realm, this infernal world, is inhabited mostly by succubi and incubi, sexual spirits, but it is also inhabited by many different resonants, incoming some spirits of the Nephilim, some demons of the abyss, and many kings and queens, which reside within this realm. According to my personal experience, Gamaliel is not necessarily connected to the physical moon, but it is more closely and effectively accessed in the different phases of the moon. And many spirits which inhabit Gamaliel as the spiritual world do not correspond to the moon as a planet. They have other spiritual correspondences. I will give here the Lilith as an example. She rules Gamaliel as a spiritual plane, but her actual spiritual attributions go as follows. First goes Saturn, then goes, I think, Jupiter, and then goes the moon. So the moon is either second or the third planetary attribution of Lilith. It's by no means here primarily planetary attribution, according to my experience. So this realm, Gamaliel, is also closely connected to our physical world. If Nahimot, the first sphere, is connected literally with our plane to the point that it's the same reality, just the different aspects, Gamaliel, which is the second sphere ruled by Lilith, is also connected to our reality, to our world, and it is also intertwined with our world, but it's a little bit more distant and difficult to access than the first sphere, than the first world, but it is still really close and easy to access. So the easiest way to access Gamaliel is to access it through your dreams with the help of Lilith. I have videos on my YouTube channel, on Mother Lilith playlist, detailing some techniques you can use for Lilith to visit you in dreams, so you can check the playlist out. And also, a really good way to access the Gamaliel is through use of magical mirrors, or through use of the moon as a spiritual conduit. So here is one thing about the moon as the planet, okay? The moon as the planet can be used in three ways in magic, from my experience. One is to kinda open psychic abilities and connect to the feminine aspect of the self. Another is to access the elementary energy of the moon, which is the energy of the moon as the planet itself, its spiritual essence. And the third is to use the moon as a conduit to literally access the spiritual realms. Now, moon itself can be used to access many spiritual realms and planes, including the cliphotic world of Gamaliel. So, according to how Lilith instructed me, you should invoke her and then look at the moon as a sigil with an intention of connecting to Gamaliel, of connecting to this world, to this realm. And it will kinda produce results. Really good results. You will have visions, you will have dreams, you will have spontaneous surges of information. So, pretty much, this is the method how I access Gamaliel. You can also use cliphotic sphere workings from the blog of VK Jehanu. Go to his blogs and go to the section known as cliphotic sphere workings, and you will get the information you need to access Gamaliel through magical chants. But right now I want to talk about how initiation into Gamaliel influenced me. So when you initiate into this cliphotic world, you literally, when you reach this demonic world, have some effects upon your soul, body, and the mind. This world corresponds, as I said earlier, to sexuality, psychic abilities, dreams, prophecy, astral body, and hidden aspects of the psyche, corresponding with sexuality. So to me, it confronted me with my own hidden sexual urges. It developed my psychic abilities, it developed my astral body, it increased my ability to vampirize and be better psychic vampire. and it also made me more capable of communicating with Lilith and her spiritual offspring. So this was short summary of Qliphoth about the first 4 demonic worlds, especially about the first 2, and this will kinda be first video in the series, my personal series about the Qliphoth, and I will kinda share with you my experience about those initiations and how those spheres work from my experience. And I think this is enough for today. I will talk more about Gamaliel in the next video and about Nahimath too. So I will talk about those Qliphotic worlds more in the future. This was kinda more like a summary, like a first video on this topic. So I think this is enough for today, and thanks for watching. Hello, in this video today I will talk about the winds of plague. Now I will explain to you what the winds of plague are in this video. So the winds of plague are the current of power generated by Lilith, and they are really important for her mysteries. I will talk about them in this video. This is a really important topic for me, and first we need to define what the winds of plague are. So I intended to talk about the winds of plague for a really long time, but since Lilith pushed me, I am forced to talk about this topic. This is not a comfortable topic for me by any means, because I need to share a lot of personal stuff and also introduce concepts which are not so common in the cult community. And unveiling of this issue will definitely make some people butthurt and offended, and that's not my problem. I don't care how you interpret my words, and I don't care how you use information I provide. My job is to provide information which is useful for people. If you abuse information, that's not my problem. The reason why I say this is because information I share here right now can be really easily abused, and let me talk about winds of plague now when we clarified this. So, as I said previously in some of my previous videos, and I will elaborate in this one, the winds of plague are energy which runs through your body and the world around you, which creates illness, sickness, especially that of the chronic kind. And it raises a question, why would anybody work with this kind of energy long term? Because obviously, when you work with this kind of energy long term, it will physically make you more ill and susceptible to illness and death. Why would anybody work with this kind of power and energy when we can simply use power to heal ourselves, right? Isn't it natural for the man to seek health instead of plague, long life instead of torment, and normal functioning instead of insane visions? So, for majority of people, harnessing the type of energy which causes illness and sickness is not the way to go. And that's the reason why nobody discusses the winds of plague, which are the energies responsible for creation of chronic illness and even death. So why would I or anybody else tap into this energy? The answer is really simple. When you enter the realm of the spirits, when you enter the spirit world, you change the metaphysical, physical, and emotional state of your body. So, in order for you to perceive the spirit world, you need to learn to observe the world around us and everything you experience from a completely different angle. Otherwise, you won't be able to see spirits, work with them, and observe them. So the work with the winds of plague is really beneficial if you want to learn alternate states of consciousness. That's one benefit. Another benefit of this is guarded specifically towards people with chronic illness. If you are chronically ill to the point you cannot heal yourself, then the only natural course of action for you is to harness the winds of plague, which are already running through you, and learn to work with them in a beneficial way. I need to disappoint a lot of people, and I need to say, despite of what modern sorcerers claim and what people like to believe in, majority of at birth inflicted disabilities and chronic illnesses cannot be easily cured with sorcery, which means that people with chronic illness or at the birth inflicted disability have to live their lives with understanding of their condition, and they have to live their lives with understanding of how their condition can benefit them. Extremely strong traumas as well generated the winds of plague. For example, if you are severely raped, there is a big chance that you will never recover from the incident completely. But what you can do is you can learn to deal with psychological consequences of the act using sorcery, and you can learn to harness the specific winds of plague generated by the event to empower yourself. A lot of people will disagree with this notion I am bringing here, and they will say how I am nihilistic or how I am fatalistic. But I am partially speaking from personal experience. There are things which are difficult to heal or repair with magic, and the only thing you can do is to deal with the consequences and use the consequences for your own benefit. Every type of energy, no matter how disgusting, can be used for your benefit. Entire point of this video is to tell people who are either disabled, chronically ill, or severely traumatized that they can use the energy generated by their difficult experience, which is known as the winds of plague, to improve their lives instead of seeing their difficult condition exclusively as a burden. Now, why I am telling this? Well, I am telling this because there are groups of spirits which are able to help you to tap into this winds of plague current. And the spirit who is able to tap into this, with whom I am the closest, is definitely Lilith. He introduced me to the concept of the winds of plague and how it operates within my body specifically. So it is my job here on this channel to share with you how winds of plague can be used and utilized, specifically through the mysteries of Lilith. If you want to tap into superficial mysteries of Lilith, like basics of sex magic, or I don't know, dream work, or basic vampirism, you don't have to tap into the winds of plague. But if you really want to harness the mysteries of this infernal entity deeply, then you need to tap into the winds of plague, because this is the energy current she is known for in her original mythology in Hebrew lore, as well as older Mesopotamian and Sumerian mythological stories. Lilith and her kind, Lilith, were known to be the bringers of illness, sickness, plague, hunger, and drought. So they are inevitably linked to the winds of plague and to the energies I already described. So, what are necessary and immediate spiritual benefits from working with this kind of power? Well, the first benefit is significant increase of psychic abilities. After that comes resilience to the consequences of your chronic conditions, greater abilities to deal with trauma, greater success in forms of predatory spirituality, bigger control of your emotions, and definitely great control over your sexual impulses, especially if you learn to harness this energy with Lilith. Now, how one should start harnessing the winds of plague? What is the procedure? In the future, I will channel a lot of magical chants for harnessing this specific energy. I will film, maybe within this video, some chants and hymns. But for now, for the purpose of this conversation with you guys, I will tell you how one can call Lilith for the purpose of initiation into the current of the winds of plague. So, call Lilith in whatever aspect you wish. I will personally leave the chant on the screen for one aspect I think which can be used for harnessing of the winds of plague, which is Ha Lilith Ma Ha Lashana. You will see the chant on the screen. This aspect of her is connected to illness and sickness, so it can also be used in curses, and it can also be used for induction of terrible visions. But the procedure goes like this. You call Lilith in whatever aspect you wanna work with her to initiate into this. Absolutely every aspect of Lilith can work with the winds of plague and the current of plague. So it doesn't matter what aspect of Lilith you call. After you call upon the aspect, then you should sign with her a pact of radical vampirism, in which she vampirizes you radically in order to initiate you into the current. It will be painful, but it will be alchemically extremely empowering. It will greatly empower your psychic abilities and ability to work with spirits. After a phase in which you are vampirized, you will later on receive much bigger amount of energy than the amount of energy you gave. So vampirism by her is just the first step. After you make a vampiric pact, he will take large amounts of your energy in order to prepare you to work with this current. When that happens, then she will return to you much bigger amounts of energy than she took, and then you should engage into radical psychic vampirism. Now, when this happens, then you will start feeling sensation known as the vampiric hunger, which is technically this: your aura will become unstable and you will feel constant craving to vampirize. But when this happens, instead of constantly vampirizing, you should focus on your body and focus on energy pathways within your body in deep meditation, as well as work with Lilith daily. And she will kind of show you where, in which parts of the body, your personal winds of plague flow. And she will kind of show you on a one-to-one basis what is your way to use these kinds of energies. So I said some major benefits of using this energy, but at the end of the day, this is all individual, deeply individual, so I cannot give broad guidelines, because for the simple reason, due to its complexity and complexity of phenomena we are talking about, broad guidelines cannot be accurate in every individual case. So I won't talk about something I don't understand. The most important thing is, when you work with the winds of plague together with Lilith, you need to closely follow the instructions you receive from her, and you need to understand the type of energy you are tapping into and working with is extremely dangerous and extremely powerful. I needed to make a long elaboration for this video because I needed to explain the concept of the Winds of Plague, what it is and how you can tap into it and harness it, what spiritual guide you should use. If you are interested in this, depending on your feedback, I will channel some techniques how to harness this energy, and this will definitely help you become much better sorcerer. I put this out there because I never saw anybody talking about this. If you are not comfortable with working with Lilith, some other entities which can help you harness the Winds of Plague are Truma or Trumirol from Slavic mythology, Saizen from Mayan mythology, Pazuzu from Sumerian mythology, partially Nurgle, definitely Hela from Norse mythology, Druinasu from Persian mythology, then Beelzebub from infernal demonology of the medieval Christianity. So every mythology has its own spirit responsible for the Winds of Plague according to the lore. If you want to find spirits who are connected to this kind of energy, then you need to find deities which are heavily associated with illness and sickness. And if you are ill in any way and you cannot heal yourself, you can use your illness as a blade against your enemies and sword which you will use to cut obstacles in front of you. And that's the point of this video. I hope you will call Lilith and benefit from your own Winds of Plague, and thank you for watching. Hello, so today I am going to give a few short warnings regarding work with Lilith and say to you, my audience, that invocation of Lilith is coming tomorrow, but I need to give those warnings before I film the video, because a lot of people, including me, had certain experiences with the lady I need to share, and not all experiences with the lady are positive, but it doesn't mean that the lady is malevolent. It simply means that Lilith is a dark force, primordial force, and not everybody is meant to work with her, and not everybody can handle her energy. Now, I am not an elitist. I am really making my work with Lilith public for a reason, and I believe that everybody should have a right to work with her, but few warnings have to be given, because in my experience a lot of people came to me over and over with the same symptoms, with the same stories, and I really had certain experiences also, and I need to share those not so pleasant experiences with you. But those not so pleasant experiences me and others have doesn't mean that Lilith is malevolent, and it doesn't mean that you cannot have many beneficial effects from work with Lilith. However, in order to inform the public and to really give the full picture of the being I am working with, I need to share this information too. So, first and foremost, when you work with Lilith, you need to understand that she is indeed a being of the underworld. And as all beings of the underworld, she can be tricky to work with, and there are some safety measures and guidelines in your work with Lilith. First safety measure and guideline is that you should really respect her, and you should really approach her with dignity and intentions which are not related exclusively to sexual gratification. She shouldn't be seen as sex object, because this is a recipe for failure. Also, it is recommended to call her in a deeply fortified sacred space and in the presence of other spirits, especially when you work with her first few times. Now, she can also be the first spirit you are working with, but please call her in a fortified sacred space in order to avoid some rogue succubus showing up. And this is really important also, because if you get some rogue succubus showing up and presenting herself as Lilith, which happens, you will fuck up. So you really need to be extremely careful to respect all of the safety measures in your first few experiences with Lilith, in your first few rituals with Lilith. Another thing you should really do is you should kinda, when you work with her, not be commanding, especially if you are not invoking angels or Samael or some other powerful divinity. Because if you really command without any authority in you, it is a recipe for failure. Lilith cannot handle being dominated, and she will strike you in the face and fuck you up. And she can be really caring and motherly, but she also can be really brutal. Another warning I have for people is to not be overly submissive, because if you are overly submissive to her, it is also a recipe for failure. Lilith is extremely vampiric, and if you are overly submissive to her, you will give her too much energy, which will awaken within her vampiric qualities, and it can be a really unpleasant experience for the initiate. So what I am saying is, please don't be overly submissive and don't observe yourself as a slave, because that's a recipe for a failure. Lilith doesn't like being commanded, but it's not impressive when you try to lick her pussy either in order to get some favors. You need to have a self-respect, and especially if you are submissive just for purpose of some kind of sexual gratification, whatever, she will fuck you up. When I refer to Lilith being offended by you calling her for sexual gratification, I mean the following. You can call her for love spells, for glamour spells, for obtaining a succubus, but you shouldn't observe her as a sexual object, only as a sexual object. You can interact with her on many levels, intellectually, sexually, physically, and working with sexual energy is a really important aspect of her mysteries. But if you observe her only as a sex object, that's literally the worst thing you can do, because she will become extremely brutal and you will fuck things up. You will suffer badly, and I don't want to be in your skin if you do that. There is also another warning which I will give you, is that when you work with Lilith a lot, there are two main risks. Actually, three main risks. One risk is that you will, if you work with Lilith a lot, become a magnet for weird individuals, and that can really make your life a really interesting place, and your sexual urges will be revealed in a little bit more dark light. And a lot of people cannot handle their own dark sexual urges, and it kind of creates fuckery in their lives, because they will attribute whatever is awakened by work with Lilith not to be an aspect of them. They will probably see it as some kind of demonic infection. But in reality, when you work with Lilith, the only thing which happens is your dirty urges are awakening. Lilith is not a low-ranking succubus, so she doesn't infest you with desires which are not yours. She is a high-ranking demonic queen, and when you work with her, she will simply
reveal to you the aspects of yourself. And really, you should examine those aspects as an adult, as a responsible human being, and behave according to them, and don't use those urges to abuse people, rape them and shit. Another thing I have in mind to give as a warning is, if you give Lilith too much of your sexual energy, it doesn't matter are you male or female, you can be overwhelmed with her essence. Now, if you become overwhelmed with her essence too much, too quickly, one of three things happen. You either become spiritually reborn, physically really ill, or you die physically. So if you really want to be overwhelmed with her essence and energy, you need to ask her first, what will be the consequences? Does she want that? Is it something you should do? Because not everybody's aura and system can handle to be overwhelmed by her energy. And her energy current is really specific. We need to talk a little bit right now about history, okay? Shortly. Lilith originates in a proto-Semitic religion. Lilith and figures associated with Lilith and class of demons known as Lilith exists in all of the Semitic and proto-Semitic pantheons. A similar figure exists in Arabic pantheon, Nabatean pantheon, Mesopotamian pantheon, Akkadian pantheon, Assyrian pantheon. All of them have Lilith-like figures, which have the same attributes, similar name, and similar behavior. So some people say she originates in Assyria, some people say she originates in Babylonia, some people say she originates in Sumeria, some people say that it's actually Arabic concept of Karina, which is adopted into Judaism. There are many theories there, but whenever we look at Lilith figure, there is a connection to Semitic peoples, Semitic mythology, and different Semitic groups which existed in history. Now, modern Lilith we work with is, in form we know, revealed in Kabbalah, in Zohar, in Alphabet of Ben Sira, in parts of the Old Testament, in Mishnah, in Midrash, in Talmud, in that Judaic literature. Okay. But whenever we look at Lilith-like figure in Semitic cultures, it always has the same attributes. It is always connected to sexuality, sensuality, extreme amounts of wisdom, illness, transgression, liberation, darkness, mastery over night, mastery of darker faculties of the self, soul travel, vampirism, seduction, dreams, and few other characteristics. In proto-Semitic pantheons, all of the similar Lilith-like figures have the same powers, the same attributes, the same type of behavior. Now, I am not saying that all of those similar beings are Lilith. Actually, I know that Karina from Arabic and Lilith from Hebrew lore are not the same. They are separate beings. But what I am saying is that Lilith has motherly side. We as a modern occultists tap into usually and
gentle seductress side, but there are much more darker aspects and forms of Lilith. And if you give her too much energy and become overwhelmed with her essence, some of those darker and primordial forms of Lilith can come to the surface. And you need to be prepared for that. So before you give her a lot of energy and engage in that alchemical process, you kinda need to have a decent working relationship with her, and you kinda need to know what you are doing. Don't give her too much energy straight on. Don't become overwhelmed with her essence for the purpose of transformation right on, because if you do, it will have serious consequences for you. You need to be prepared. I suggest working with Lilith every day. Not every day, but once a week, a few times a week, 2 or 3 times a week for 3 or 4 months before deciding should you work with her really seriously for the purpose of alchemy and transformation. Now, why I am saying that? If you tap into too much of her energy too quickly, especially if you invoke, what will happen is, since Lilith specifically has a certain energy form, energy current attributed to herself, known as the Winds of Plague. I talked about Winds of Plague in other videos of mine. It is a really important aspect of my practice. But to keep it short, the Winds of Plague are technically the currents of energy which show all of the weaknesses of your immune system spiritually and physically and make you temporarily kinda ill. So if you invoke her every day without decent preparation, what can happen? And if you either evoke her every day intensely without decent preparation, okay? I'm not talking about slight evocation like few chantings and shit, or slight invocation like few repetitions. I'm talking about serious rituals, okay? Like, I'm talking about when you tap into her seriously to the point that you have minor aspects of poltergeist activity, intense dreams and shit like that. Okay? So, if you intensely tap into her seriously every day, without giving yourself time to adapt to her energy, what will happen is your spiritual immune system will definitely have severe reaction to the Winds of Plague current. That will result in you either becoming physically ill or having intense visions which are difficult to handle, or being attracted and vampirized but by some of her subordinates really intensely. And that's not a pleasant experience. Now, there are certain steps for preparation to serious work with her. Now, she should be called, if you really want to prepare for this, if you really want to do serious work with her. So I am giving this word of caution, so smallest amount of people can fuck up. You should really start with some aspect of Lilith which is not seductress and succubus. So I am giving a word of warning to my audience. Don't use traditional demonic hand to call Lilith. Traditional demonic hand which is used for calling Lilith is Rei Via Savas Lilith Lirash. Please don't use that in the beginning, because that aspect of her which stands behind the N is really a succubus aspect of her, and this aspect of her can be really dangerous. In majority of cases it isn't, but mother aspect, in my opinion, is much safer So my advice is to use the chant on the screen to call her mother aspect and to start working with that. And call her for a first few months only twice a week, every Monday and every Saturday. Those are the days of the week in which her presence is stronger. And use either Sunday night and Monday night, because they are both astrologically part of the Monday, and Friday night and Saturday night, because they are astrologically both part of the Saturday. And work with her during the days I mentioned, in the hours of Mars and Saturn. Night hours are better than day hours because her essence is stronger during the night than during the day. Work with her in those days and hours. If you can, organize yourself twice a week. If you cannot organize yourself on those days and hours, that's fine. But I am giving you the best dates so you can have the best experience. Work with her 2 times a week. And really call her to prepare for this serious working and path working. After month or 2 months or 3 months, when you pass all of the introductory kind of tests from her, which won't be really difficult, when you pass all of those little tests and when you attune a little bit to her energy, then serious transformation starts. She will come to you every single night once you agree to this transformation, and she will vampirize you. And then she will, after you pass those 3 months introductory period, come to you every night and vampirize you and give you her energy instead of the vampirized energy. So she will take your energy from you and give her energy into you. So she will literally change your spiritual body to attune to her. That will make you more able to work with her and extreme forms of her current. Once this process is completed, after a month or so, by the way, those nightly visitations by her will be extremely painful and challenging, but she will always attune them so you can survive them. She isn't purposefully trying to kill you. Once you pass that 3 months, twice a week introductory period, she will kind of consider you one of her serious associates and her serious partners, her serious, not necessarily followers, but students, okay? And that's period of her visiting you during the night and eating your energy and then giving you her energy instead of the energy she devoured will last for about from a month to month and a half. Now, after that is completed, then you should really pursue ritualized personal initiation with her. If you really wanna, and you will also probably be either required or advised to experience some kind of a ritual adoption, death and rebirth right with her. So you will literally kind of call her and say, look, I want you to adopt me as one of your serious disciples, students, sons, whatever you want to call it. And I will explain what it means, okay? Once you do that, Lilith becomes your spiritual mother, and I will explain what it means. It doesn't mean that you become special. It doesn't mean that you become better than everybody else. It doesn't mean that you even become closer to Lilith than everybody else. What it simply means is that you proclaim, look, Lilith, I want to change myself spiritually and change my energy so I can will your mysteries accordingly. That's what you proclaim when you ask her to adopt you. She will probably agree when you pass what I previously mentioned. But here is the thing. When you ask her to be your spiritual mother, what it means that you want her to give birth to your new empowered spiritual form. What disgusts me literally is that many people use this alchemical symbolism, which is spiritual and philosophical, to measure their egos and to kind of prove everyone how they are better than everybody else and how they are somehow special and the rest of the world is somehow inferior to them. Now, once you agree to become adopted by Lilith in this ritual, alchemical, philosophical way, what will happen is you will have a test of sorts in which Lilith will reveal to you a controversial aspect of her mysteries, which will vary on a person. I was given a specific controversial ritual I should use and perform. And that controversial ritual empowered me greatly. That's the reason why you see this channel. That's the reason I am grown in power. Everybody who pursues this form of initiation I described and passes the initial periods and works with her with respect can also receive extremely controversial and powerful aspects of her gnosis. It is not something which is reserved for me. It is something everybody can do. She will give you that controversial gnosis. Which controversial gnosis and extremely powerful shit you will receive is something which is individual. So everybody will receive something they can use and utilize. But that won't be something you find in popular black magical books. That will be something which will probably disgust you at first, but later on, if you really go beyond the limits of shame and start practicing it, you will actually find out that not only that ritual is necessary for the world in general, but it is also really empowering for you. Now, what I advise to people who come to this point is to not reveal that ritual to anybody else and to not reveal to the public that they do this ritual and to not involve anybody into channeling the aspect of that ritual or work with them in the aspect of that ritual. Because when you receive that ritual, majority of people will either try to kill them because they do it or judge them because they do it. The judgment and hatred will 10 out of 10 times be hypocritical. As judgment, as we know, it always is in majority of cases. But it will happen. when you tell people what Lilith told you, they will judge you. Okay? If you give them that ritual. So don't give that ritual to anybody else until you master it completely. Until you really can use it and handle it. Keep it for yourself. For the sake of your safety and for the sake of your nerves. Once I truly master the ritual I received, I am obligated by the pact I signed to share it with the public. So don't worry, I won't be a dick which keeps really powerful shit just for himself. You will get extremely powerful ritual I received in a few years. But right now, I didn't master my own ritual I received from her. To the point I can give it to the public. But I made the mistake of telling it to a few people, and they didn't understood it in a way it should be understood, and I had really big problems. I also involved other people in channeling the aspects of that ritual completely unnecessarily, and that also created me many problems. So don't be dumb as I was, because you will simply fuck shit up. It won't help. Also, that ritual will give you extreme amounts of power, extremely quickly, especially if you repeat it. So you need to be really careful how you use it, and you also need to be really careful to not become ego-driven and egotistical due to enormous amount of power you will receive in extremely short period of time. I almost fell into that trap, and I harmed many people unintentionally. It was extremely disgusting on my part, and I will regret it until the day I die. But what is done is done. I am not right now doing everything I can to undo what I did. So also be careful to not become ego-driven and fall into ego trap. Now, since you came to this point in which you received the ritual, there is another next step after the ritual. But you need to keep in mind that once you receive that ritual, by receiving the ritual, you have an informal pact with her which doesn't have to be formed. You literally become one of her. How can I say this without sounding like an edgelord? You become one of her extensions. You become infused with her energy to the point that you become extension of her essence, partially. Which means that you cannot stop working with her when you want and how you want. Completely. You will always be connected to her in a way. Even if you summon all of the hosts of pagan pantheons, etc., to slaughter her and banish her, no matter what you do, at the point of receiving your own version of controversial right, you become connected to her in a way which cannot be cut. And that form of a connection is stronger than usual pact people make. But that form of a connection can be achieved by absolutely everybody who is willing to work and dedicate yourself to this really dangerous and controversial spiritual path. Now, there is also one other thing you can do, and that's to make this easier. You can create a sigil with her of your own spiritual form you want to build up, and then feed that form with your own blood and the essence of Lilith. this will make handling the Winds of Plague much easier and handling her energy much easier. But this will also irreversibly transform your spiritual bodies. So keep this in mind if you try this form of transformation with the sigils course. So once you receive your right and become connected with her in this manner, there is next step, which is you will start working with her on her macrocosmic agenda. You have right to refuse this. But if you refuse to work with her on her macrocosmic agenda, she kinda won't be as willing to give you another controversial aspects of her mysteries. So it will be kinda of equal exchange. You do things for her macrocosmic agenda, and she gives you really dark and powerful stuff from her arsenal. So that's the exchange. But once you start working on that agenda, you kinda start losing aspects of your humanity in a way, and you also cannot stop doing it whenever you wanna. You can slow it down, you can put it aside, but never stop completely, because you experience in this manner irreversible transformation. So, for all of the warnings I gave and steps I gave here, you need to be mindful. Don't see her as a sexual object. Don't start working with the succubus aspect. Attune to her energy gradually. Be prepared, if you want to work with her seriously, to withstand vampiric transformation, which is extremely painful. And you need to be willing to go beyond the limits of shame in order to work with her. She won't ask you to commit a genocide or slaughter millions of people, but she will, at multiple points in your serious transformation, demand of you to do something you deem disgusting, which is actually extremely beneficial for you. In many cases, your disgust is a mechanism put in place to keep you away from empowering things you need to do. So keep this in mind too when you work with Lilith. This is really important. And thanks for watching. I gave a bunch of information here, and this will, I hope, be useful guide for many individuals on the path of Lilith. And you need to understand that working with her doesn't make you special. Lilith wants to be mother of entire humanity, and not just you. So you should be looking at fellow human beings with a little bit more empathy if you work with Lilith. Elitism and unnecessarily magical dick measuring is not useful on her path, in my opinion. Peace out.